I really do have to give Democrats and their respective voters credit where it's due, because the more and more radicalized the GOP gets in their tactics, the closer and closer America inches towards Nazism. With as fascistic as Republican rhetoric is in 2022, and with as brazenly democracy usurping they are, although American left-wingers really do deserve a round of applause for what they've done the past couple of nights, seeing as not only was the biggest loser of this midterm the QAnon or Trumpists, but although this by no means spells out a Democrat-controlled Congress, the Republicans haven't got what they wanted either, with no strong enough majority to override filibusters in the Senate and a Democrat president at the ready to veto every sack of shit legislation that'll get through to him if it happens. If we're to grant that the Senate is split 50-50, we still have the tie-breaking vote. Democrats obviously don't have the House and have a slight majority in governorships, and the result isn't what either party really wanted, but it's enough to keep Nazism at bay for now. But above all, and most pertinently, these recent elections should let Democrats know that their guard should never be down, and that we should be so vigilant as to increasingly monitor Nazi threats to democracy in the preceding elections. Nazism never stops at anything when it's their objective to seize political power and throw queerful, environmentalists, Jews, Romani, racial minorities, liberals, and leftists in concentration camps. According to 538, 60% of Americans will have an election denier on their ballot, which is odd, because if you think the deep state is rigging elections, why do you have faith that the same system will end up putting you in office? It's because they fundamentally believe in nothing and just treat politics as a hub of camaraderie and something to get jingoistic over. And it's also astonishing to me that many Republicans can say absolutely nothing about what materially improves the lives of Americans and can distract with typical Fox News talking points about woke, crime, CRT, trans, fentanyl apparently being handed out on Halloween disguised as candy, or whatever nonsense culture war drivel red herring they can lie about. Because these Nazis are so infuriated with resentment and hate towards social progress, equity, and are completely distracted by immaterial circumstances that in virtually every instance have nothing to do with them, every defeat will increasingly motivate them to dismantle our democratic institutions and effectuate a Nazi dictatorship that will end disastrously for the world. The solution to this tribulation is to know fascism when it manifests and to quash it in its infancy. As responsible citizens who've promised to defend the Constitution and all that it represents, we should scour forums and communities of certain talking heads that represent fringe right-wing beliefs, shut them down, and if their stated actions are terroristic enough, keep them in preventative detention, which should be a common sentiment knowing that the far right is infinitely more terroristic than the far left. For instance, not only was Paul Pelosi attacked by a deranged conservative looking to assassinate the Speaker of the House and hospitalized for it, but what appear to be militiamen donning body armor, masks, and various other tactical equipment are standing outside polls and deliberately intimidating voters. And speaking of intimidation at the polls, a man wielding a knife threatened poll workers in southeast Wisconsin and demanded that they stop the voting. At this point, I'm surprised they don't just say they don't believe in democracy anymore and declare they want open fascism, just like Fuentes. They're clearly not fixating on optics because of how many politicians are saying no Trumpists should be prosecuted for what happened on January 6th, because it was apparently Antifa, and just openly parroting more and more 8chan tier talking points. This is why, again, I've significantly altered my views on censorship and deplatforming, especially in cases where terrorism is explicitly or implicitly encouraged. The DHS should absolutely be working harder to ensure our polity is safe and secure from domestic threats, but we can only rely on law enforcement so much, and even less when those institutions are occupied by right-wingers. Additional solutions to quelling fascism are donating to trustworthy leftist organizations that fund the campaigns of Democrats. We can also contact left-leaning voters and get enough signatures to organize votes for referendums or initiatives so we can have more direct forms of democracy. This is especially beneficial during midterms and general elections because that's when the highest rates of voter turnout occur. Higher voter turnout almost always leads to better results for Democrats, since I do think most people are at least liberal-leaning. And obviously, above all, voting is most likely the most powerful way to prevent fascist footholds in the government. Thank you for voting in this midterm if you have, because your actions have mitigated a quicker Nazi takeover of America. But you can never let your guard down, and work must always be done to stop this far-right threat and the risk of letting it pervade through politics and destroy our country. It will never cease until all speech holding it in high regard are extirpated from digital and physical spaces.